Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Robert Laurie again, coming to you guys with episode 16 of the Think Up podcast. Really appreciate you guys joining me. Let's get right into it. This is part 2 of a podcast from episode 15 from yesterday, which is it takes the same amount of effort to succeed as it does to fail. It takes the same effort to succeed as it does to fail. This is part 2. I really want to expound on the points that I was covering yesterday, because I think this is a really important principle. It took me a while to embrace it. And I believe that when you get to the core of why I'm saying this, and as you be prayerful about it, it can really break you free from a lot of limitations and destructive beliefs that may be keeping you from embracing the success that God is empowering you to embrace. So again, this episode 16 of the Think Up podcast. Let's get right into it. So I was covering the principles yesterday, and the 6 principles I'm going to talk about, or the 6 character traits, is number 1 was commitment, number 2 was focus, number 3 was daily disciplines, number 4 was community support, number 5 was a strong desire to succeed, and number 6 was speaks life over yourself. And that was all for success. And the attributes for failure was the same things. Most of them was the same. Commitment, number 1. Focus, number 2. Daily disciplines, number 3. Community support, number 4. Number 5 was the strong desire not to change. And number 6 was speaks death. So I want to focus on success. The first one was success. So I want to focus on how the commitment is so important as it relates to success and failure. So I just want to cover that. So the first thing I want to talk about is commitment. So I want to say this quote, and I believe I quoted a couple of podcasts ago. It's in my new book that's coming out, Think Up to Get Up, How to Break Free from Destructive Ways of Thinking. And the quote says, your faith brings you to opportunities that your disciplines will only allow you to embrace. Now, what I'm learning about myself is until you get drop dead committed to what you're trying to accomplish for yourself and for your family, you won't take the disciplines that God bless you to see and to acquire seriously. Now, I primarily want to speak to men on this podcast because I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm in the process of growing myself, stretching myself. My wife is pregnant with 2 twin girls. I already got a 6-year-old boy and 2 boys, 6 and 2 years old, named Isaiah and Joshua. And now we're finna go from 2 kids to 4 kids. And let me tell you something, if nothing else motivates you more than to make sure you're leading your family in the correct way, is being told you're about to have 2 more kids. So it is a blessing, but as the leader of my home, I want to make sure I'm leading my family the correct way, financially, emotionally, spiritually. Well, I had to get serious about my commitment to where am I leading my family? Where are we going? Now, I want a couple of things. Now, I want to talk about what it takes to stay committed to your standards. And that's another point we're going to talk about, which is what are the standards that are in your life? Everybody has standards, whether those standards is to allow other people to put standards on them, or whether those standards is something that you push yourself to embrace every day. So the first thing I want to cover is to stay committed, the things you must do. The first principle I want to cover is how fast do you rebound? I was listening to a podcast and I forgot the gentleman's name, but they were talking about rebounding. You know, when you fall down, how fast do you get up? When you are committed to the vision that God put on your heart, when you fail, when people don't support you like how you feel they should, how fast do you come out of discouragement? It's not that if you're going to get discouraged or not, don't try to focus on trying to not endure or feel negative feelings. How we feel is how we feel. If you're angry, embrace the anger, meaning that don't lie to yourself and say you don't feel that, because I think I did that myself sometimes. I would feel an emotion that can take me down a destructive path, like anger, and I try to suppress it, like, oh no, I'm okay. Listen, that doesn't work. You just get stressed out. You get a lot of tension in your body. That can lead to all types of disease. If you're angry, if you're frustrated, acknowledge it. But here's the key. You acknowledge it, be prayerful about it, say, okay, God, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, but what can I do to still go forward. Again, one of my definitions in the book I talk about, in the book I deal with the victim mentality, is I talk about learned helplessness and how everybody learns how to be helpless. When you look at our kids, you know, when they fall down from walking, none of them never sit there and cry and don't try to get back up. They don't even understand failure. They are 100% committed to walking. Why? Because they know they can do it because they see other people do it. So it's real important of how fast you rebound. And I want to encourage you, get connected with people who went through things. That's why the best books, I believe, is people who went through a dark place and they came out. Even the book that I just recently finished, Think Up to Get Up. You know, I went through a dark place of depression, of insecurities. This book is about how to get out, how I got out, and I thank God for it. And I want to encourage you guys, get around people, listen to people who you trust that came out of a dark place. They could drop so many nuggets that will save you a lot of time. So that's the first thing I want to cover. How fast do you rebound? When you fall down, when you get discouraged, don't stay there. You have to get up quickly. So again, I'm talking about the attributes for success. And I want to talk about success a little bit more. I just want to talk about, when I say success, I'm talking about you striving to achieve the goals that God bless you to have. There's so many different definitions for success. I really like Earl Nightingale's definition, which is the progressive realization to a worthy goal. I really believe that what success really is. If God blessed you to be, you know, and just whatever God has blessed you. For me, he blessed me and was calling the author out of me. So success for me was writing every day to finish this book. So every day I was successful as I did my daily disciplines. So whatever God is calling you, as you take a step towards it every day, that's success for you. All right, so the second thing I want to cover is self-criticism. When you're doing something new, like I'm doing something new, believe me, I have a lot of criticisms of myself. Self-criticism is something that I don't think you can never alleviate. It's always going to be there. What's important is have a story to speak life into yourself that goes against and trumps your self-criticism. So when you tell yourself, oh man, this is never going to work, I don't know what I'm doing, have a story already ready, prepared that will stop that. You know, my story is, I just say, God, I trust you. When I don't really know what to do, when I think I'm doing it right, like what I'm doing now. These videos I'm putting out every other day or every day. My goal is every day, but with my lifestyle, it ain't working out. So I'm doing it like maybe 6 days, 5 days out the week, some weeks. When I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I'm somewhat right, I say, God, I trust you. You know, Proverbs 3:5 says, acknowledge God in all your ways and he will lead you. I think that's Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, the 5th verse. Have confidence in the path and in the vision God bless you to have for you and your family. When I say have confidence, I mean, just because you may not know if you're going the right way, don't stop. Say, God, I'm going down this way. I believe this is the correct way for me and my family to grow, to become all God is calling us to be. But God, if I'm wrong, show me. But God, I'm going to be going on this path until you show me. And God, if I'm wrong, let me see it and give me the wisdom to see it. That's very important, y'all. The next thing I want to cover, before I go into the next thing, I really want to just repeat that one more time. Have a story that is already prepared in your heart to come against your self-criticisms. Because self-criticism will stop your growth. Self-criticism will cause you to go over to failure. And failure just means you just stop. And it's so easy to do that. Just be like, you know what? I don't know if I'm doing it right, so let me just stop. I can't tell you how many times I got all deep in spiritual and over spiritualized my progress and said, because I don't know if I'm going the right way, I'm just going to stop and wait on the Lord. And what I really was doing is I was acting out of fear. Any spiritual discipline that you choose to apply to your life that's birthed out of fear is not of God. You can't say you're going to pray about something and think God is going to bless that when what you're really doing is you're acting in fear because you're fearful to already embrace what God put on your heart. God ain't gonna speak a new word because you're fearful. You gotta have courage. David and Goliath is the best example. God already anointed him to be king. When he seen Goliath, he didn't know that was his opportunity to be king or the first steps towards being a king. All he knew is this is somebody that's disrespecting my country, and I know I can beat him, so I'm finna beat him. He wasn't trying to do it, trying to become somebody. It's very important, y'all. You don't know the everyday ordinary things that God is gonna bless you to walk into your purpose that on the surface look so ordinary. It wasn't no great thing that David wanted to defeat the Goliath. He noticed that, hey, it's a reward in it, and number two, nobody else want to do it. And even King Samuel ain't want to do it because he was fearful. So it's very important, y'all. Your daily disciplines are so important. Okay, the next thing is do a minimal of one action per day that moves you towards your vision. And that goes back to my quote for today. Do one action each day that moves you towards your vision. And that quote again for today is your faith brings you to opportunities that your disciplines will only allow you to embrace. That's so important, y'all, because I'm telling you, you can have great faith. You can believe God for, for the world. But God sometimes responds with a discipline that you need to acquire. And that discipline ain't gonna feel spiritual. That discipline may be uncomfortable, and that discipline may cause you to grow in areas that you think don't even exist in your life. And I used the example with me about reading. I am not a reader. I do not like to read. But as God was blessing me to see what I need to do to be an author, the main thing that kept coming up time and time again is you have to read. You have to read. And I didn't want to read. So what I did was I started buying a book a week. I started, besides going and doing extracurricular activities, I started going hanging out at the library, looking at different authors, looking at their chapters. I started looking at how they make their points. I started looking at when they make their chapters, do they do a quote that empowers people, or do they do just a quote that makes people think? I started looking at all these little things, and by the grace of God, I started to develop my voice as an author. It's so important to do the daily disciplines that God is blessing you to understand for you to embrace your vision. There's always daily disciplines that God shows you for you to embrace your vision. You are not going to walk into the promised land God got prepared for you separate from your daily disciplines. Your daily disciplines may not be all that spiritual. They may not. Like, we can get deep and say, oh man, my daily discipline is going to be prayer. Let me tell you something. After you get up from your prayer, I put $1 million on it. God's going to lead you to do something that's natural. Action is natural. You know what I mean? Now, you may be anointed to act, but for me, I was being deep because I didn't want to act. So I wanted everything to come through faith. The devil is a lie. You got faith to act. Don't have faith just to wait or to do something that agrees with your passive, learned, helpless behavior. It's so important, y'all. And I talk about this in the book, Think Up to Get Up, How to Break Free from Destructive Ways of Thinking. Because everything in that book, y'all, is things that was hindering me that I was surprised I was even doing. But it's a blessing that God showed them to me, and I was able to overcome them. And some of them I'm still overcoming. Like this principle I'm covering. This principle is a challenge to embrace every day. Your faith brings you the opportunities that your disciplines will only allow you to embrace. It was a challenge because I was so comfortable with faith, with I'm believing God for. So let me get off that point. I want to make the last point, guys, which is you gotta see the person God is blessing you to become and believe you belong there. You have to believe you belong in your rightful place in the body of Christ, in this world, in your family. You have to believe you belong there. I think it's a psychological term called imposter syndrome, where you get to a level in your career or a level in your life that you thought that was a dream or something that you thought would never happen. And you feel so uncomfortable in this new position that you start to self-sabotage because you feel like you're an imposter in your own life, because you always looked at that position as something that would never happen for you. It's funny, going back to the Super Bowl, we're talking about Mahomes, and it was a lot of controversy about how he called Brady a legend. And it's not that Brady's not a legend, but what I personally believe is the reason he got whooped so bad is because while he was in that game, his mindset was, I'm playing against a legend. Now, when you look at David and Goliath, did you think David was looking at Goliath like he's a legend? Like he's some great one? You can be great, but when we in a fight, right, you ain't great. Like, my goal is to win. And if you beat me, I say you great. And just to make the point with Mahomes and Brady, that's probably why he lost. Like, man, I'm playing against this great legend. Man, listen, right now, we on this same field. I'm going to look you in your eyes and I'm going to play you like a man. And if you beat me, it ain't going to be easy. And if you win, yes, you great because you beat the best me. And I'm sorry, y'all all may know this. That wasn't the best Mahomes. That wasn't the best him. So just to go back to your commitment, you know, it's very important, guys. So that's my video for today. Episode number 16. It takes the same effort to succeed as it does to fail. Y'all, God is calling you to success. Embrace the success God is blessing you to have for you, your family, especially you men. God is blessing you to lead and empower your family through being all God is calling you to be. That's why with this podcast, the Think Up Podcast, my goal is to help you to become the highest expression of who God is calling you to be. Thank you guys. You guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thank you.